So there's this funny study where they put people in an empty room with nothing to do but to electrocute themselves. And interestingly, around 62% of men and 30% of women, something around that, go as far as to electrocute themselves with a small dosage of electricity, but still, just in order to avoid boredom, probably. But probably it's about avoiding all of the unresolved stuff that happens here, that we are confronted with when we are doing nothing, when there's nothing to do. And it just seems easier to to electrocute yourself than to think about your life and to be confronted with your base state, your base emotional state. And I mean, we humans are notoriously bad at doing nothing and at confronting our own feelings, and I'm as bad as anyone at this, and that's why I'm trying to practice doing nothing. And it comes in a form of not just meditation, but recently I've been doing this practice where I rent a cabin in the woods alone, no internet connection, no SIM card in my phone, no Wi-Fi, no books, no nothing, where I just walk, sit, and think. And interesting how you have to face your own feelings and your own thoughts this way. I just sit and I just write down all of the stuff that worries me and all of the stuff that comes bubbling up. And interestingly, after the first few hours, the first day, probably the stuff that comes bubbling up is the stuff that you expect to, because you've been thinking about this, but you haven't made time to think about this properly. But the second day is more interesting because you just start thinking about stuff that you did not think that you were worried about or did not think that were important to you. But after you write down all of the surface stuff and resolve all of the things that you think about, you just start thinking about your life in general. You start thinking about, again, things that you didn't know that you thought about. So yeah, this is very important practice to me since recently, to make space to do absolutely nothing, like literally nothing. And it can be hard because it's just becomes so damn easy to distract yourself from your thoughts with all the social media and stuff. But I think because of that, it's as important as ever to make space to do nothing.